I am the CEO of the Homicide Victims Support Group in New South Wales, a position that I've had for the past 31 years. Support group that was set up by the parents of Anita Cobby and Ebony Simpson back in 1993. And the support group was set up to support family members of homicide, pretty much from a crime scene through the court system and helping them survive day in, day out, the effects and the horrors of losing someone to homicide. So what brought me to the Road Trauma Support Group is just on 3 years ago, I was approached by a police officer, Katie Orr, and one of the founding members of the Road Trauma Support Group, Tom Dar, whose father was killed by a drug-affected speeding truck driver who killed his dad while his dad was doing some gardening. And the reason that Katie and Tom came into my life was the fact that Tom said to Katie, who is the police officer looking after road crimes in New South Wales, what is there for families like us in the way of counselling and support and someone to help us understand the system? And Katie had seen me lecture down at the Goulburn Police Academy quite some years ago on the Homicide Victims Support Group and the formation of the group, because I was part of forming the group with Anita and Ebony's parents. And she thought, well, maybe if she came into contact with myself, made contact, I would help her and Tom set up a support group like Homicide Victims Support Group for family members of road trauma. The difference between the family members that come to the Homicide Victims Support Group and the family members that come to the Road Trauma Support Group is the weapon that's used, and the weapon in road trauma is a motor vehicle of some type, and for me, I don't see them any different. Look, working with family members who have had their lives turned upside down by the fact that another human being has killed their loved one is very unique work. It is a privilege to be able to do this work with the family members that come into contact with, the Road Trauma Support Group and what we're able to offer. And so over the years, you do meet a lot of people, and what I always say is we throw out the textbooks, because we see these family members at the worst ever time in their lives, but we do see them very slowly, sometimes day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, crawl back to some sort of semblance in their life where we do see the lows and the horrors, but we do see them grow. And I say grow, not as in, a child growing, but growing spirit, because their spirit is basically disseminated by the fact that, someone they love has been killed in this way. So we see the good and we see the bad, and that's where it makes such a big difference. They never get over it. There's no such thing as closure. It's about them recreating a new life, and the new life being without their loved one. Now, in saying that, that new life still has their loved one in it, but they have to work on different strategies to get out of bed in the morning, to feel enthusiastic about doing anything, to be able to go to a social event and not feel like they're betraying their loved one if they have a good time, if they have a laugh, if they have a dance, if they put on a new outfit and feel good about themselves. So looking at all of those sort of things is work that we do, but also family members get from other family members that they meet. So we try and get them to a point where they meet other people who are 2 and 3 years down the track and go, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And that's the beautiful part of a support group like the Road Trauma Support Group, is people will go through different stages in their own time, and some family members, they may not be where people think they should be 3 and 4 years down the track. And what we say to people is, you just take your time. You do it in your own way. So when we talk about success, I don't know that it's success. I think it's a step-by-step process where we encourage people to be what they need to be, do what they need to do, and we're there beside them. And I always say, you know, your trauma, you can't leave it behind you, but don't let it take over your life either. Let it walk beside you, and that's where support people will walk with you. And you move on in the pace that you need to move on in. And so with Road Trauma Support Group, it is a growing group, sadly, grows on a daily basis. And what we've been able to do in such a short time is have support services put in place for family members of road trauma, pretty much from the crime scene. So we have a working partnership with New South Wales Police, which means that within 48 hours of a crash occurring, someone is killed by the acts of a criminal act, another human being, we get a notification. It's a mandatory notification that the police send to the Road Trauma Support Group. With that, the counsellors then allocate what services need to go to that family after they've spoken to the police officer who's in charge of the case. So for some family members, it might be, yes, I want to see someone today in my home. It might be that they'd like a phone call. So telephone support work is really important. We have a 24-hour support line. There's support group meetings that we hold on a monthly basis. There's online workshops. There's a Facebook page. So trying to put into place support for families that they can access in their own time and at their convenience. So it's not a case of anymore, which is what used to happen. A family would have to get in a car, drive an hour to see a counsellor, then drive back to their homes, and they feel worse, having seen a counsellor for 50 minutes and then having to drive an hour each way. Now we have counsellors going into people's homes. So instead of them having to get into a motor vehicle, which is really hard for people after their loved one's been killed in one or by one, is we go to them rather than them come to us. And so the support side of things, I feel really confident that we're doing lots for family members, and it doesn't matter whether the family member's a 14-year-old child or a 75-year-old woman or man. The age is not something that we look at that we can't service those people. So we've got services in place for any age group. It's not time limited. People can come into the group whenever they feel like it. In the early days, they may not want support from Road Trauma Support Group. They've got a lot of family support. And when that family support goes away, people go back to their work or back to their homes where they came from. That's when we find family members say, I feel so alone and I need some extra help, so what can you give me? So we're here to offer families support 24/7, 365 days of the year. Road Trauma Support Group doesn't close.